Hey Aquas, welcome to Vivid Vibration. My name is Christina. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. Please give me a like, share, and subscribe if this video resonates with you. Okay, Aquas, let's get started. We have Olivia and the comic, the threshold, the village, the warrior, Gnosis, agape, the poet, the pilgrim, and the gem. Oi, okay, Aquas. I mean, the village has been in your reads, or like the general idea of like just toxic environments, toxic relationships. And again, I feel like it's just this idea of the village. But I want to say this time it's the idea of like acknowledging your triggers um, due to your environment. So, I mean, the village can be your family, your friends, your community, like your roommates, like I don't know, like this could play out, your coworkers, like this could play out in so many different ways. So, like just take it how it resonates. But I feel like the idea here is an acknowledgement of the fact that you were very triggered by your circumstance in this environment in the village, and were lashing out at people who I want to say like you had no right to lash out at them, and yet you were triggered by this like toxic environment and like lashed out anyways, I guess I want to say. Also, you can be on either side of the story, so take what resonates, leave the rest. It could be that you're dealing with somebody in this energy, so I'm just gonna read it how it comes through, but you take it how it resonates. Okay, and then I want to go to the comic and Olivia because I feel like it's this acknowledgement of the reality of how this environment set you to be, like set you up, but that sounds intentional. I don't get the idea that it's an intentional. They set me up to do this. I feel like it's just this, like I was in like a prime environment to be triggered by anything that like I just feel like it was I was in an environment where there was no other option, and acknowledging the fact that again this like mind your triggers, like instead of dealing with the actual issue, I just started picking fights with everybody else so that I didn't have to deal with the reality of like a decision that I was going to have to make that I think just like it scared you. You know what I mean? Because it's been in your reads of, like, do I want to, do I go? Do I stay? Can I do this? Can I do that? You know what I mean? And just with this idea of security and how, like even if things are bad, at least I know what to expect. And it's just this idea of like, I want to say like acknowledging the fact that you traded security for like you didn't care if it was toxic, it was secure. And so your toxic security ended up, I want to say like harming people who are outside of that. And I want to say acknowledging the reality of the fact that your clinging to a toxic security caused problems outside of this toxic security. And like understanding, I want to say like how that played out. I mean, the Gnosis is the idea of like deep inner knowing. Also, like the bird's eye perspective, because you've gone through it so many times that now you're really realizing it. And agape is the idea of like self-awareness. And I feel like this is really a point of self-awareness, Aquas, and acknowledging the fact that you are not the toxic environment, and also acknowledging the fact that your toxic environments have had an effect on you that affected people who were outside of that toxic environment, and hoping to overcome this issue or this hurdle, so that you can move forward. I want to say with this journey of an understanding of the value that you have, because I want to say, Aquas, it's just been an idea of you defining your value through the security of your community, however that plays out for you. And the security of your community kind of puts you in a place where like you are not the good guy in this scenario. And it's not to say that there's no blame for you to take in this situation so much as it is to say that like while I can accept blame, I can also acknowledge that like where the separation needs to occur in order for me to not continue to like allow for that toxicity to wreak havoc on people outside of that toxic security, because not everyone craves security that's going to destroy them. And Aquas, I feel like you've been in an environment that's very toxic, that is destructive to you, destructive to like, but it's like, but I know I'm familiar with, it's like familiar pain. You know what I mean? And it's like not everyone wants familiar pain. And I feel like that's a lesson that you're really having to learn. Is that people won't fuck with your familiar pain. Just because it's familiar to you, just because it's a pain that you're comfortable with, doesn't mean that other people will fuck with it. Doesn't mean that other people are comfortable with it. And you can't get mad at people for not wanting to engage in your toxicity because it's secure to you. Having to understand your value outside of that and wanting to, I want to say, journey into a new sense of security. Sense of security. That was a title for somebody else. I don't remember who. Saggy, I want to say. So maybe you guys have some Sag in your chart, or you're dealing with the Sag. I don't know. But again, it's this idea of like a false sense of security that creates havoc around you to people who aren't involved with that environment, and realizing why it is that people will literally not fuck with you in order to not fuck with all this shit, the baggage that you bring along with you. You know, the company we keep keeps us, and vice versa. And I feel like that's just really like the reality that you're facing. And it's like, yeah, I mean, if you want to stay in the toxicity, then, you know, by all means, but like that's your problem and it's not anybody else's. And you can't take that as a personal offense, because it's not, they're not saying you can't do this, or like you're a bad person, or you have, you know, I feel like the reality is it's like, no, it's not your lack of value. It's that like you lose your value when you dip your value in a pile of shit and then tell somebody else that they should be excited that you handed them anything of value at all. Like, no thanks. You can keep your shitty value. I'd rather not. Okay. The Knight of Swords, the Page of Cups, the Hanged Man, the Sun, and the Queen of Swords. Yeah, I mean, I feel like either you or like I feel like you've heard it. You've heard it enough times from enough people that like this literally is not going to get you anywhere. It's just going to create lack. It's like pouring something into a bucket with a hole in it. It's like trying to scoop some soup out with a spoon that has holes in it. You know what I mean? Like, it's useless. And it's like, I feel like you've heard it enough times that you've really been forced to like face the reality of this truth. And that there is an element of liberation, you know, because like if you will only identify as your toxic community, then, you know, like how short have you sold yourself? And if you're willing to identify with yourself outside of your toxic community, then how much beauty is there to be discovered? You know, and I feel like it's just kind of like an, oh, damn. Dumbass. Awkward. Okay. The Page of Swords, the Three of Wands, the Eight of Wands, the Two of Pentacles. You know, I feel like there is an idea here, Aquas, if you really have been like focusing on yourself, focusing on, like bringing yourself back into balance. I want to say, just like really sitting with the reality of this like truth that's been presented to you. And I want to say preparing yourself to go to that next level. Because if you have been in this like toxic, triggered environment, like you would you would, I don't know, it's like the smell of shit would just like, it's like you've seeped in shit for so long that the smell of it is just like it emanates from your aura. And I feel like there's an idea here of you having to really pull. I mean, the Page of Swords in this deck is the idea of like focusing on learning how to develop her skills with this weapon. And so it's like it's her weapon, it's her weapon of choice. And I feel like there's an idea of really having to focus on, I want to say like who it is that you are, cleansing yourself of this aroma of shit that emanates from your aura because you have been so deeply embedded in this toxicity. So that you can bring balance to yourself. And I want to say go for um, like a, I want to say like a something that's sincere to you, something that is in alignment with you. Once you get rid of the shit, once you clear the aroma that is just in chilling around you, I feel like there's this idea of like, okay, now you can really go for what it is that you want. You have had a relationship that's been in a lot of your reads, so it could be awkward if there's somebody that you really want to, I want to say like build a home with. Um, for others, you could be somebody, like I really want to build a business with you, or I really want to, you know what I mean? Like I want to, like I want to do this with you because I feel like there's an idea of like security, like a sense of security that comes along. It's almost like this, like if you would just let go of this thing that you're holding on to, there's so much more for you to experience. And I feel like if security has been like the reason you've stayed with this community, there's security on the other side of letting go of this community. And you're moving towards that and finding like the good in it all, and creating like a beautiful environment. Okay, let's do last card for Aquas and we'll call it a read. The Queen and the Nectar. I love it because the Queen of Swords is like such like the queen card here for me. But it is this idea of like the neck that turns the head in the direction that it needs to go. Like it's like I feel like a come to Jesus kind of meeting, but like maybe you've had it with like so many people at this point that you really like you get it now. And the nectar is the idea of something that's life giving, something that I love the aroma. Yeah, like it's like the potpourri to your shit, but it's not your shit. It's the shit of the toxicity of the community that you identified yourself with. But it's just this idea of a really like once you're able to release that, once you're able to really focus on you, then you're able to really go towards what it is that you want. And I think what you want is something that offers you sincere security, but security because of who you are, not just because of like your place in the community. Okay, well, Aquas, I hope this resonates with y'all. If you're interested in booking a personal read with me, please, please, please give me a like, share, and subscribe. If this is where we part ways, thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.